Good morning, a big hello on Friday the 13th, March 13, 2020. I felt it was a good day to do an intuitive video on what I feel is coming up in the United States and globally over the next 4 weeks. If you hear a little sound like a cricket in the back, we are in the midst of a lot of rain here, which is a blessing for North Hollywood. Everything looks fantastic and clean outside, but it did manage to short some wires in my bathroom, which turns into either a smoke alarm scream or chirps like a cricket. So that's what the background noise is today. Usually it's the dogs or something else, but today that's our accompaniment. So I wanted to start with one of the Mother Mary Oracle cards. I just love this deck. I love the artwork by Alana Fairchild, and I love the explanations. I just think it's one of the most illumined decks, and the cards are so uplifting and also gut level real. So there's a wonderful combination of heart and emotion in them. The card, as I was shuffling the cards, the card that fell out of the deck is this card. It's called Our Lady of the Rose Child. So that will be the theme of our reading as we go on, and I'm going to read what that theme is. You are my rose child, and this is speaking to all of you. Born of agony and ecstasy, in sorrow and joy, I am with you and you are growing. In darkness and light, I am with you and you are growing. In death and new life, I am with you and you are growing. The thorn and the bloom, both of the rose. In the midst of your suffering, you are in the birthing pains of a new life. I cherish you, my heavenly rose child. Do not fear the darkness of life. It is necessary for your light to be made manifest. I am your mother, the midwife for the birth of your soul and the defender of your heart. Surrender and trust in me. So basically, as we can all see, the theme is one of being torn open by suffering right now, by isolation, by shift in our experience of life at the most profound levels of life and death, and fear of loss. And it's bringing up also our material fears and our health fears and our fears of emotional loss of loved ones who may be within a certain age group, and we're fearing that they are going to be affected by what's going on right now. So I'd like to do a reading and just ask my Holy Spirit. First, I'm going to light my candle. The reason I do that when I give a reading is I always light the candle to call in the divine energies. I clear my own energy field. I take a few breaths and I release the cares and fears and whirling in my own brain. And I ask this is good for you if you want to give yourself a reading. I ask that I'm going to give a detached, clear reading, free of my belief systems, free of my prejudices, free of my thought forms. So I'm calling in the highest level vibration of wisdom helpers and healers to guide this reading, and I offer myself as a conduit to God's grace, because God's grace is the light of clarity and of filling me with compassion, so things that I may have gone into judgment about in a normal daily life when I'm operating out of my humanness, I'm setting those aside on a shelf to bring forth a deeper, wiser aspect of myself. So, just gotta unplug this because it's making silly faces at me. There's always something. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a leader card of what is the essence of the next week. So today's the 13th. So we're going to go from the 13th up to the 20th, which, if you remember, is when that Mars all week is striding towards a conjunction with Pluto on the 21st. So this next week, I would expect astrologically that things are going to heat up. It's also going to touch Jupiter, so it's going to enlarge and exaggerate whatever its own energy is. So let's see what comes up. And we're going to do this reading today 90% intuitively. Whoops, a card just flew out of the deck. This is the card of the Five of Hearts. It's a man that is looking down at the earth and he's seeing the cups that have spilt over. He's in a state of great disappointment. His shoulders are rounded. He's looking down. He's not aware that behind him are two cups full of abundance. He's looking at what's wrong. So it's also a card of profound disappointment. So there could be a great disappointment in how our government's handling things. Hello. Or there could be a disappointment in how things are unfolding. It's definitely a man in isolation, standing apart from city. There are no people to be seen in the background. So I would say people are, over the next week, really taking this seriously and moving back into a bit of a state of separation from each other. There is a river between himself and the city. There is a bridge over the river, but right now he's not looking at any of that. He's looking at loss. So whether it's financial, emotional, or health loss, and what's behind him with the two cups is not realizing the spiritual gifts that he could access. It's a 5, so it's a card in a little bit of a state of flux, a little edginess to it, a little bit confined. But if you look at him, all around him there is the light of divinity. There are circles and circles of light, like we were talking about yesterday, that aura that we can have and expand. But because he's shrunk down like this, he's not getting it yet, okay? So this is starting through next week, and there's another one, two that want to come out here. So these are the two cards that I got together. First card is, when they come out like this, I don't even have to think about it or choose a card. They're just coming through me and choosing the cards. This is the card of a young man, another cup, so it's an emotional card, a young page carrying a cup, and there's a fish in the cup. So it is symbolic in a lot of tarot and in my own interpretation of someone carrying a message, because pages are messengers of emotion, but because there's fish in the cup, there's something fishy about the message. So we listen to the message, but we might not trust the message, and it might not be a real, true message. It could be falsified, or it's a bit slippery. Fish are a bit slippery, right? And as we know with Pisces, it represents Pisces, the fish can swim in two directions at once with the Pisces sign. third card that came out is a card of judgment. Michael the Archangel blowing the trumpet, and people beseeching God, people turning to spirit, people naked asking for help, and feeling judged or feeling, when I look at this, there are people also in the background pleading for help. So it's definitely this next week that I would say there's an escalation. There's a feeling of helplessness, but through that helplessness, there's a divine turning to spirit. It's like, God, help us, or let me move into the light, or let me hear the truth, because Michael the Archangel, this is Gabriel. Gabriel bringing a message with the trumpet. Gabriel is the messenger. So where we had the fishy truth, we want the real truth. So people are coming forward and saying, give me the real truth of what the heck's going on here. I want to know what's happening. I want the raw, stark truth so I know how to proceed. So that's the first week. That's taking us from the 13th to the 20th. So let's go from the 21st to the 28th. Whoops, that one just flew out, landed on the ground. This is a card of people feeling like they're carrying a load and they don't know how much longer they can handle this load. It's just so heavy. And again, they're bent over, and again, there's a lot this one person is carrying. And if you look at the card, they're making their way to a castle in the distance. So they're seeing some kind of solution or some kind of refuge in the distance. That could be a hospital, that could be a place of safety, could be a place of solace, it could be their home. And people, but they're still, if you look at the card, he's got a ways to go before he gets there. So everything's continuing and the pressures are mounting. And this is not to be fearful. I'm just realistically telling you what I'm saying, and each of these cards is flown out of the deck, so I'm honoring and trusting it. So here he is carrying this massive load. He looks tired, and I was thinking the other day, why did the fear settle in so easily on so many people? Well, it's because we've been so bombarded with fear for the last few years, and certain countries in the world have been experiencing the same thing, that we didn't have any reserves against, no kind of bulwark of spiritual force or a wall of spirit to not let this fear in. It's like being hammered on with fears and dastardly things occurring, and just having no more like, oh God, what next, that kind of feeling. So that's where he is. Let's see what's coming after that. This is going from the 21st to the 30th, so we're still in that Mars conjunct Pluto, conjunct Jupiter situation. Mars edging its way up to Saturn. So we're going to have a new moon coming up. That's just come up, I think. I think it comes up around the 23rd. And it looks like we're still walking with a little trepidation. The moon card, we're not quite sure what's going on. But we know the pathway because we see the path in front of us. But we have to go through two tall pillars. And if you see the card, it's the card of Cancer, the crab there, which is, I'm just hearing, I want to go home. I want to be at home. I want to rest at home. And the two dogs barking at the moon, kind of disturbed, not totally relaxed, not totally feeling comfortable, just kind of edginess. But we're making our way, but the crab's got a ways to go. And the path is pretty clear though, what has to be done. And a third card for the week of the 23rd to the 30th. Third card for that period. We get some news. He's hold another page, and he's holding the. No, this is, excuse me, the Two of Wands. He's holding the world. He's looking out at the entire world. He's feeling a little bit like he's gaining some dominion over the situation, but he's gazing at the world and he's wondering where it's going. He's looking at it globally. So we've moved beyond this me, I, to feeling a unity with people all over the world going through this. And I asked my guides last night, I said, what is the purpose of this virus? Why do we have it? And they said to create unity, to break down barriers between people, to help people understand that we're all human, that we all need to help each other, regardless of race, political side, who's the president, who's head of the health, who's in the UN, who's in Germany, who's in France, who's in England, who's in different countries in Africa or Australia. We are all one, and we're looking at our brethren, and we're feeling a link to the suffering and the sadness of it all. Last night I was looking at Iran and feeling, oh my God, like we need to show more compassion to Iran. They had to build trenches yesterday to bury their dad, and here we are still, in a battle mode and looking on different countries as the enemy. Really, we have to pull together and join hands as one world. And when I looked at the actual, you've seen the visual of the coronavirus, it looks like the globe, and it looks like little countries popping out of the gold with red, which is what they're doing in our country right now when the virus has emerged in certain states. They've painted them red. And that looked to me like the whole world was dealing with it. Everywhere. There was no place unscathed. So stopping aircraft from flying, it's already here. It's already migrated everywhere. Now it's gestating and manifesting, and we don't need to go into this big fear zone, but we need to understand that we need to help each other. We need to stay in a positive state of mind. I remember reading a book about St. Luke going down to the bottom of a ship, and there was a terrible plague in the bottom of the ship, and everyone in the ship said, don't go down there, because he was a doctor, he was a physician, and I said, don't go down there, and he said, I can go wherever I wish. I will just fortify myself with the light of divinity. And he did his own prayers and light work. And I'm going to have a beautiful friend, Jordan Serchuk, a younger woman, that I asked her yesterday to provide me with questions for some of the future videos. And she's a brilliant young woman. And I really respect her mind and her heart. And so she's given me some questions on prayer, on karma, and whoops, there comes another card out for the final week. And so I'm going to be doing some videos off her questions. I'm looking forward to that, to do one on prayer and how we pray and what really happens during prayer. Okay, so this is going to the third week, the 31st until the 6th of April. So this is showing people they have already been through the virus. They've already been ill. They're getting up again. They're feeling shaky. They're creaky. They're feeling a little insecure, a little bit needing some money. But they're together, and he's got crutches. She's beside him, helping him. And they're making their way out into the world again. So I'd say within 3 weeks that some people will start venturing out. And there will be money issues that will have to be dealt with because people will have lost paychecks and it will be the beginning of the month. They've got to pay their rent or their mortgage or buy food or pay medical bills or whatever. So there's going to be a cry out for help monetarily. Another card for the first week of April, please. People are getting smart. This is the card of clarity. This is another page. So these are all communicator cards today. And you can see, he sees that there are clouds behind him. He's carrying the sword of truth. He's cutting through the nonsense. He's seeing right to the heart of matters. So I feel there are going to be messages of positive solutions now. They're going to have a better handle on it. There's going to be more clarity. And there are also going to be people speaking up that might be quite fed up and quite, protesting in some way how this was handled, like quite strongly, and standing in their own truth. This person's got their head up, they're self-assured, they know where they're going. This is the first week of April, okay? The final card for the first week of April. Final card, please. It's taking us to the 6th of April. So this fellow's moving forward in a bit of a stealthy way. In other words, he's out there, he's moving forward, but he's being very careful. He's being conscious. He's carrying his burdens with him. He's got still some swords that are standing in the ground behind him. This card is a little bit being wary of what's going on, but making your way. So this third week, you've got that first card showing the man with crutches. You've got this fellow moving along, making his way, carrying his burdens, but they're both not fully striding forward, right? They're kind of coming out of a bit of reclusiveness, and they're making their way. Let's look from the 7th to the 14th of April. Take this up to the middle of April. Ah, nice card. Things are lightening up. People are able to say hello again. People are able to come together with love. They have more love. The different sides are meeting from the heart. The lion above it represents the Leo, the heart. And they're carrying cups of greeting. Cups are sweet emotion to each other. And they're both looking tenderly at each other like, oh, we got through that. How are you doing? Are you okay? Feeling more compassion, not really caring who the person is, just showing more kindness. That's nice to see. So this is the 2nd week of April. New beginnings coming. Optimism is returning. Now, the only warning with this card is not to be foolhardy. He is about to step off a cliff, but he's carrying a very light knapsack. He's not carrying a lot of burdens. His head's up, happy, joyful, doggy happy leaping beside him. Beautiful aura, bright with light. He's learned something. He's ready to start a new life. And the final card for that second week of April. This makes me feel better. I hope it makes you feel better. These cards are usually pretty darn accurate, so let's not get fearful and know that there's an end in sight. The old saying, this too shall pass, right? Final card. So it looks to me that there's a breakthrough and that they get all the confusion. They have a breakthrough in all that confusion about what it was, how it started, how to counteract it the best way. It's still out there, but it's moving quickly now in a way that it's moving away. The final card, because that one was kind of showing what the energy was of what's going on. People have, this is a beautiful, beautiful card. It's the card of the Hermit. It's a card of a person that's gone inward and found their own light, is looking at the God within, is not being so distracted by life. So all the games shutting down, all the TV shows, this person is surrounded by gold, and they're looking at the golden light of their own inner being. They become more introspective and wise. They've achieved a place of wisdom. So I'm going to end with that card. I love it. It's one of my favorite cards. And the card that I asked as an overview is, we're going through a cycle, and the cycle will start into another cycle, a new cycle. So the next month, we're going to go through a lot, but I do see optimism. And as Mother Mary said in that very first card, her affirmation is, Mother Mary, who lovingly tends the souls of the world as sacred roses in her healing garden, nurture, nourish, and protect my soul. May I be held in your loving grace and given the strength to find the light even in my darkest hours. So we're here, sweet friends, beloved ones, to find that mercy within ourselves, to feel it for ourselves, and to extend it to others, to tap into it and carry it as we walk in the world. That golden rose underneath your feet transforms into the loving embrace of Mother Mary. She holds you gently at her heart, sending a blessing of golden light into the back of your heart and the back of your head. And you say this affirmation, Our Lady, Mother Mary, bless me now with your protection, your strength and peace, even through this darkness. May your light come within me and shine eternal and bright. And we did see that at the end, that hermit had found that light and felt that light and felt that protection. God be with you. Don't forget to subscribe. Looking forward to the next reading with Jordan Surchuk's Just Questions. Thank you.